The fallout continues this morning after former Premier Dan Andrews was given a red carpet welcome by China's president at an extraordinary parade of Beijing's military might. Let's go live to today's Federal Politics reporter Liz Daniels. Liz, good morning again. Former Foreign Minister Bob Carr was also in Beijing but says he chose not to attend the parade.
And he is defending that decision to go, saying he accepted an invitation to Beijing to commemorate Japan's surrender in World War II. But part of China's commemoration was that parade, an exhibition of military might with precision choreography. President Xi hosting a gathering of leaders that included North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin. They shared the red carpet with former Victoria Premier Dan Andrews, a photo opportunity Bob Carr says he deliberately steered clear of.
I certainly would have avoided them if they were on notice. Possibility. I was here for the terrific meetings that I've been able to hold today with countries that are like-minded, not countries that are aggressors or oppressors.
And Liz, this was a clear message from Beijing.
Carl, it was a deliberate display of an enormous arsenal and cutting-edge war technology, from robot wolves to long-range missiles, a military warning to the West from President Xi as he stood shoulder to shoulder with authoritarian leaders from across the globe. That is why Dan Andrews' presence is being criticised. The Prime Minister, of course, has also recently visited China, Carl, but that was for a very different cause. And he was in very different company.
That's for sure, Liz. Thank you. Dan Andrews is facing criticism for posing alongside dictators Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin ahead of China's Victory Day parade.
For more, we are joined by Chinese political expert Neil Thomas in Washington, D.C. Neil, good morning to you. So the photo of former Victorian Premier alongside dictators, what kind of a message does that send?
It's not a great message, especially when you consider that at least three of the leaders present there, Vladimir Putin from Russia, Lukashenko from Belarus, and the head of the Myanmar military junta, are all sanctioned by the Australian government. And you could see Dan Andrews right behind Kim Jong-un, 3 rows back. So it's not a great look.
Look, The Age is reporting this morning that Daniel Andrews didn't seek diplomatic advice before flying to Beijing. Did he really need any kind of advice to know that was a bad look?
I think it's always good for former high-profile politicians to consult with DFAT, with the other relevant people in the Australian government on these kind of trips. Of course, you know, they're out of office, they can make their own decisions, but I think just plugging into Australia's diplomatic apparatus to let people know and give them a heads up, rather than having them find out through Chinese government announcements, is probably a better way to go about doing things.
Oh, Dan Andrews just does not give a stuff, that's the problem. Anyway, let's get into the actual parade now, and China showcased some state-of-the-art weaponry. What message is that sending to the rest of the world? It's pretty menacing.
The message is that we are strong and don't mess with us, basically. We saw some really big missiles, planes, ships being rolled through, kind of an alpha-numerical soup of different military capabilities. But one thing that really stood out was that China showed it now has the so-called nuclear triad. So big nuclear missiles that can be launched from first the ground, second the air, and now third from submarines. So that's getting China closer to regional nuclear parity with the United States. And from China's point of view, they want to be certain that if, you know, push came to shove and there was some kind of really big conflict, that the United States couldn't use its nuclear advantage to get China to stand down.
Well, it's the range of those missiles too that sends a very strong message. Appreciate your time, mate. Thank you so much for that.